Just give me a moment, we'll just get started. So now we have a new process. After collecting the requirements, after defining the scope, meaning the product is described, the solution is described, along with its deliverables, acceptance criteria, and exclusions. The next step is to break down the deliverables into smaller parts. So that is known as creating a work breakdown structure. Yeah, thank you, organizers, for the recording. So the question to all of you once again is, why do we need to break down the deliverables into smaller parts? What is the purpose of creating a work breakdown structure? So I'm going to write that question. WBS, by the way, is a very traditional approach. In agile projects, they don't use this WBS approach. They use a different approach known as agile release planning. We'll take a look at agile release planning this afternoon, where they have a product vision, roadmap, a product release, and sprints or iteration, user stories, and then estimates like story points and ideal hours. So that will be done in brief this afternoon. But the question right now is this one: what is the purpose of creating a work breakdown structure? Why do we need it? Because the deliverables are known, and what do we need to do further? If you become a member of PMI, then you can even download there are additional documents wherein they have WBS for various industries. You can find a WBS for telecom or for IT, oil and gas, manufacturing, and so on. Okay, people, thank you. I started receiving some inputs. Sudarshan, thank you. The WBS is breaking down large work into manageable smaller chunks of work. Example, something which can be done in a week. Yeah, true. So it's to make the work manageable. Absolutely right. And Shadab has said to estimate cost and assign resource. True. Once this is again about manageability. Once we break it down into smaller parts, then we can assign a resource for it, an ownership for it, and we can estimate cost and other things also. And Nadim's opinion is it usually brings clarity about the work to be performed. Yes, there's a lot more clarity. Imagine, if you give just a deliverable name to an owner, they may not really be able to estimate properly. So we therefore ask them to break it down into smaller parts as a group and then assign ownerships to the smaller parts. And Manath is also right, managing deliverables into sections. Syed Moinuddin has said that deliver the project efficiently. It's about delivery, isn't it? So when you break it down into smaller parts, there is a lot more clarity. And Haidaruddin Syed has said that to make the work packages. Yes, we're going to understand what work packages really mean. That's also correct. And fantastic. So I think we have got the answers. Therefore, the meaning, the real purpose is to keep it sweet and short, to able to manage the work, which means we are able to identify the work to be done as a package. We are able to assign an ownership to that. And then once the ownership is assigned, that owner along with their team members can estimate it, cost, effort, duration, resources, etc., etc. And once it is estimated, the project manager can start tracking the progress of those work packages. So that's the idea there. And from the Agile world, Ejaz has this comment: dividing an epic into user stories in the Agile world. Very true. Epics, which is a collection of user stories. And also similarly, epics can be grouped into a larger theme. Yeah? So they have those terminologies, and thank you for that also. So you see this point here somewhere around the bottom side. The work packages make it possible to assign, estimate, and track work. Yeah? Neither too much, too high level, nor too detailed. This is an important process for the exam because this is where the scope baseline is created. So how to read this process? Always look at the outputs, try to see what the process is achieving. So scope baseline, as you see, is a key output. It actually uses the scope statement, the project or product scope statement, So this one is entered into the baseline with some corrections or final modifications. And apart from that, the scope statement, which has the deliverables, those deliverables are broken down into work packages, and every work package is clarified. Who is the owner of a work package, and so on. So that's when we get the baseline. And there's only one technique here mentioned as decomposition. So it's very easy. Just break down the scope statement into smaller parts, the deliverables into smaller parts, decompose it hierarchically from top to bottom, and you get the baseline. I've got a query from Venkatesh. The scope statement here, input is approved document, right? Actually, right now, this scope statement input is not approved. The requirements document would have got approved. During the requirements collection process, the requirement document might have got approved or might not have got approved. But by the time we define scope in a scope statement, at least the requirement should have got approved. And the scope statement is given as an unapproved input here. And once it is moved to the baseline, then it becomes approved within the baseline. So therefore, there may be some more final changes and corrections to this scope statement. And that's an important point to know for the exam, that this is unapproved at the moment. So decompose, break it down hierarchically. So let's look at some of the text here. These are the inputs. That's fine. The OPA, if you see in the input, the OPA, there could be some guidelines for decomposition. Some templates may be available, industry specific as well. Decompose, subdividing and subdividing until we can. Now the next question to all of you, how much should we divide? I may be able to divide, let's say if I take an aircraft. Aircraft has engine, the body, and the telecom and the electronics. Yeah? And again, the electronics may have few components. Again, each component may have some more subcomponents. So should we keep on dividing up to the minutest level, or should we stop somewhere? What should be the philosophy or principle behind it? That's the question. So I'm going to write that question down. I think the answer is here actually. Until they are defined to do the work package level, where schedule and cost can be reliably estimated without going to level that task going to the level that takes more effort to administer than it is worthwhile. So the answer is clear. We should break it down to a sufficient level where we can estimate it. It may be very difficult to estimate the duration for building an aircraft. So we break it down into deliverables. Engine, if you take the engine, it may be difficult to estimate how much time and effort and cost will be required for the engine. So we break it down into even more smaller parts. So once we know for sure that it can be assigned and estimated, then we can stop there. So just you mentioned that we can look at the functionality part as a function. We can dividing it until it can be delivered as a functionality. Yes, but to be more precise, break it down until it can be assigned to a specific owner, maybe to a department or to a manager or a leader, team lead, who then can estimate it, who then can decide what are the activities in that work package. So it's like that. So let's look at some example and get some clarity on that part. Just give me a moment. So I'm going to my other case study. Okay, I almost have it. So now we have the same driver assist system, DAS. And as part of the project scope statement, which was initially unapproved, we've got the deliverables listed, navigation, parking assist, and so on. So these are the deliverables. Now we start breaking it down into work packages. Some of the examples. Under navigation, I've got cruise control, work package 1, then some more work packages here. I left it right now, just the IDs, I mentioned the ID numbers. And then there is also other project work. For example, the WBS is not only about deliverables, it should include everything which is part of the project work. So for example, if there have to be resources to be onboarded, talent acquisition, then it is a deliverable, and we are not breaking it down further. So it becomes a work package automatically. There may be some subcontracts to be created with other suppliers. And as part of subcontracting deliverable, there is regular performance reviews of the suppliers, and there will be some invoicing processes. So invoicing is a single work package, whereas performance reviews, you could have audits or inspect. So you see, a work package need not be only a product breakdown, it is a project breakdown. You can even put things like travel, audits are there, testing is there. Anything and everything which is part of the project work should be included ideally. Then only it will be 100% work package. Whatever is not shown in this, WBS, whatever is not shown in this WBS means that is not part of the project work. So